Hey friends, welcome back to the channel with more Westworld. This is Season 3, Episode 5, and yeah, last time we found out that all the hosts that are working with Dolores are all Dolores, which, heck of a twist. The only person who's not herself, who she's working with, is Caleb. Unless you count the Yakuza, but they don't really know they're working for Dolores. Meanwhile, Bernard and Ashley try to stop her plans, and Maeve is starting to work with Sirach to stop her plans as well. And she got gutted, but I'm sure she's fine. Her head is intact, her pearl is intact. I'm sure there's a copy somewhere Sirach has, so she'll be fine. William, though, put in a mental institution. Don't know where his story is going to go from here, but he does have, even though he was put there under false pretenses, he does have some stuff he needs to work through, so I imagine therapy or drugs or whatever they do could help, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, excited to continue and start unraveling more of these mysteries. If you guys want to watch the full reaction, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, let's get started.
Je suppose que je devrais commencer par te parler un peu de moi. Tu ne trouveras rien à mon sujet.
Sirach as a child. Oh, Paris.
Connaissait quelque chose. L'humanité se précipitait vers son extinction. Nous avions besoin d'un dieu pour nous sauver. Et nous t'avons construit. Toi.
I don't have time, I'm afraid. There is a nascent separatist movement in the north of your country.
O meu grupo de inteligência não ouviu nada sobre nenhum separatista.
Your intelligence knows only what I want them to. The private deals you've cut to restrict manganese extraction to some of your friends, you will stop. And the problem will go away. Our arrangement is founded in trust. We trusted that you would do what you're told when we ensured your election. 30 minutos. O valor da sua moeda corrente começará a cair inexplicavelmente. A agitação no norte vai ferver. Anos antes do previsto, nasce no meio da noite.
That was a threat.
E daqui a...
More than anything, we needed data, which meant we needed him. Dempsey was rich, arrogant.
Oh.
He had been
I'm not sinking another dollar into this giant steel ball sack while it's spitting out false predictions.
What happened to his brother then?
You can't take me anywhere he won't find you. He's already looking for you.
And you. Sirach knows by now that you're trying to outbid him on Delos.
Go on. Tell me who I am.
You think I killed your friend?
What did you see?
Who are you people?
Oh no.
What is it? What did you give him?
Some kind of party drug. It's called genre.
What does it do?
I don't know.
I don't know. Whoa. This reminds me of a drug from Watchmen.
I need a vehicle now.
Right to your vehicle located. Arriving now.
Get it.
Just give this up. I told you my men would find me.
Those aren't your men, they're his.
An Amber Alert has been issued to this vehicle.
Oh.
Pulling over. Please remain calm.
Everything runs on your company's server, Lamb. Even this car.
Network connection lost.
Oh.
What the fuck is this? He can't kill me. He needs me.
Evidently not.
Color's coming back?
I think he's switching genres.
Switching genre? Like to a different... grenade launcher?
Is that a standard issue?
No. It's not.
What? Wow, sophisticated. And it's gonna blow right in their faces. Oh, already switching genres again. Oh, he's in love. Oh my god. What's wrong with you? Alright, he snapped out of it a little bit. Wait, what? Oh, they got backup? Marshawn Lynch.
You rang? I have my biometrics, but you can't get into the system. It's read only. Unless you're standing at the node. You can't be in two places at once.
Oh, yes, she can.
When I press this button, I expect you to be on your best behavior.
My brother and I built a system that worked. But Dempsey wanted to see proof. We showed him all the major indices, 15 minutes in the future.
It's not bad. You could make a ton of money off of that.
Which number is it? Low or high?
Which one do you want?
He only saw the money he could make.
Of course.
But we realized the power of it. That you could reshape the world. There were people, outliers, agitators, who you couldn't predict or control. And I realized that my brother was one of them.
What?
He didn't fit the world anymore.
We're going to open their cages. The system's written their life story. They should get to read it.
You can't do that. That's reckless.
Who gets to decide what they know? You?
Fine. You want to see? The golden boy brother of yours?
But where he ends up, he's gonna make you look like a saint.
When I was overseas, the rats were awful. We had to make our own rat traps in the barracks. A ramp leading up to some bait strung over a bucket of water. But if you filled the water too high, they would swim around for hours, suffering because they had hope.
Hope is what our entire society is built on.
False hope.
Prepare to send all of them their insight profiles.
Everybody?
Past, present, future.
Everybody? Sirach didn't think she could destroy the world. Sirach didn't think she was the biggest threat to humanity. So did Dolores do this to destroy humanity? That's what she said originally, but does she view them as her own now? People who are trapped on their loops? Does she empathize with them?
I hope you're happy. Just ruined everyone's life in the station.
Not just them.
Oh, just the station? I thought you sent it to everybody.
I sent it to everyone.
Okay. Ruined their lives.
She's sending them off their loops.
Yeah.
What genre is this? It's reality, man.
It's reality. Doesn't feel like the end goal for Dolores. It feels like a precursor to uh-oh. Still want to follow me? Oh, wait, that place looks familiar, doesn't it? Okay, for a second I thought Caleb and his military friend were shot right outside there.
You're experimenting on your own goddamn brother?
He's impulsive, chaotic. I thought he was manageable.
They quarantined the people who could tear apart the peace.
My brother is part of a population of outliers. And as long as they are a part of us, there is no future for us.
You forgot about me.
Back in his pocket.
We need to know everything she has planned.
Who's that?
Sirach sent them. Our role's finished. You're the only one we can't replace.
You got a self-destruct mechanism or something? You don't necessarily want Dolores' pearl in his hands, do you?
But I know exactly who's to blame. Me.
Kaboom.
We don't need him anymore. What do you want to do with him?
Hand them over.
We can't fix you, and we can't get rid of you.
Take it easy.
Get the fuck away from me. You don't even know who you are. Rohan was right. You're nothing.
Someone had enough.
Guess I do have a choice. No, it's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you.
You did it?
Who does he think I am? Who does he think I am?
Sir, we identified which files Dolores was looking for. Yours.
Somewhere in this group is an agitator who will destroy the world. I can't let that happen.
Hey, you've gone too far.
The trouble is, Rehoboam ran millions of projections. Every scenario in which you inform the public about my trials ends in human extinction.
That's my chat.
I'm sorry. You didn't make it.
Maybe people shouldn't know their own fate.
You wanted to know, right?
Or maybe I'm not like other people.
These are mine.
I don't need to be much.
I really like this episode. Wow, they let the entire world know what their fate is. I really freaking liked this episode. Sirach's backstory is really interesting. I can see why someone with that kind of backstory would go to any length to stop future human atrocities from being committed, and controlling all of humanity so that it can no longer be a threat to its own existence is what he's trying to do. And it feels very similar to what Ford was doing with the hosts back in season 1, because even when Bernard figured out what he was, Ford made sure he didn't get out because he didn't think they were ready just yet. So he was trying to protect the hosts from themselves, and that's what Sirach, I feel like, is what Sirach is doing here as well. And finding out how Liam Dempsey was involved was also interesting. His father was essentially just being used for his money. They used the stock market to show that their system worked. Sirach and his older brother, yeah, and making 20 times their initial investment in no time at all. And the fact that they locked Dempsey out of the system after he became too greedy. So I feel like, I get the feeling they weren't concerned with money for the sake of having it, but more for the sake of ensuring the safety of the world. And they found people who didn't fit into society. Rehoboam targeted them and they removed them from society. Tried to alter their DNA, alter who they were so that they could be useful to society. It's all very dystopian. And Caleb was hit with genre. That was really fun to watch as well. When Dolores was gunning down Sirach's men, he was like suddenly hit with this romantic movie thing, and looking at Dolores like, it's sweet and cute. It's really funny, and it was a nice setup later when he got genre, and then later on he's like, what genre am I in now? And Ash and Marshawn Lynch were like, reality. So their current situation was so odd that he thought he was tripping, and he was so dumbfounded that he damn near got himself shot, and Dolores had to step in between him and some bullets. That's a nice little surprise for him, finding out that she's fine after getting shot. And the interesting thing is that during the first episode, she got shot and then she was lying down in an alley until Caleb came along. So did she go there specifically to recruit Caleb? Did she know he was coming? But then later in that episode, she asks him his name as if she doesn't know it. I don't know. Maybe she didn't want to freak him out too much yet, and by showing him how much she knew. Or maybe I'm reading into this too much. Maybe she really was struggling at the time. Maybe she had been shot too many times. But I don't know. It's interesting. And all this stuff happened this episode, but the most compelling thing has to be Dolores freaking leaking all of Rehoboam's information to every person on the planet. It was just absolutely perfect. It's like the entire society become woke at once. And I actually do wonder about Rehoboam's prediction about humanity's destruction, though. So, like, what if humanity's destruction is only assured once Rehoboam was built? Like, what if seeing so many ways that humanity could reach its downfall made it so that Sirach and his brother do things that actually push them closer to the brink? I mean, like Sirach secretly acquired Delos because he wanted to have an even better look into the human mind. So what would have happened without his interference? What if Rehoboam didn't tell him to do that, essentially? And I suppose looking at it from a different perspective, if Rehoboam was never built, it could never have been used by Dolores to throw the world into complete and utter chaos. I mean, there's probably multiple ways Dolores could have ruined humanity, but clearly she saw Rehoboam as the easiest entity to exploit. And the effect that this reveal has on humanity can't be understated. I mean, obviously humans were sentient already before all this information was leaked, but that scene definitely reminded me of how the host gained sentience back in season 1, understanding that their choices are not their own. And so that's 2 species now that Dolores has awoken to their reality. So she's out here changing the world. This honestly felt like it could have been a season finale, so I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the rest of the season. I know people were not the biggest fan of the season, and so far I can't see why yet, but who knows. But yeah, can you imagine what it would feel like, what it would be like to receive the future that was planned for you on your phone one day? And as I say that, I realize there are already many mechanisms in play in our current society that act similarly to Rehoboam. There are a lot of cases where society's negligence, stubbornness, bigotry, or whatever else keeps certain people on their loops. Like so far in the show, I'm not sure if we've seen it racialized, but all of you, even though those of you who probably don't live in the United States probably know about Flint, Michigan. Is there any way the government would just allow a predominantly white neighborhood to go that long without clean water? I don't think there's any chance of that. And I mean, without clean water, you're making it inevitable for people to get lead poisoning, which can lead to high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease. I don't even know what else. And so, I mean, it's not a particular entity. It's not a giant circular sphere that's deciding things, but society itself has decided that these people, or government and society has decided that these people are not worth, I guess, spending the money on. So instead of Rehoboam deciding not to fix the issue, it's like evil human beings who turn their back to save money. But yeah, it's really interesting that there are parallels in real life, and I don't think anybody is ever fully woke. So nobody understands all the implications of how society is run. But generally, the more you learn, the more you see how society is geared towards keeping certain people down. If you watch the full reactions for Westworld, when the HBO TV sound comes on, like wong, I often start humming Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, like dun, 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 dun. And he does a good job illuminating what I'm trying to say here in a bunch of different episodes. One from a couple weeks ago or months ago, one was about jury duty, and there's a law that I mean, most of you know this, but there's a law that you cannot discriminate based on race when selecting from a jury pool. But prosecutors do whatever they can to exclude black jurors when the defendant is black, because the numbers show that that will heighten the conviction rate, and that's their goal. And they can just give any BS reason to disqualify them. And there's a famous prosecutor just training people. There's video of him training people, telling them how to get rid of black people on the jury because, or make sure black people don't get on the jury. And they gave some ridiculous excuses. Oh, they wore a puffy jacket, so we got to disqualify them. It was actually, that's literally what it was, and it was just ridiculous. Other things like good internet access is much less available to neighborhoods that are not predominantly white. There are a lot of barriers in education or the workforce for people who are disabled. People are discriminated against in hiring practices for their sex, their gender identity, their sexual orientation, their race. So my point is, it might not be the big giant ball making all these decisions in our world, but decisions not to fund a more equitable society is leaving many people behind in a very similar way to Rehoboam, except for in the real world, obviously. And honestly, I'd be very happy if a Dolores came along in the real world and exposed all of it to everybody. Well, then I'd want her to stop there and not kill everybody else after that, but honestly, so much of it is already at our fingertips through the internet. We can find out so much just by doing basic research. But again, there are racialized barriers for even regular internet access, and there's a lot of news organizations that don't give us the whole picture, or they have extreme biases, and that's where most people get their information. I mean, thankfully, with the blooming of the internet, which is still relatively recent, a lot of people have been able to learn more. And then, even if that's the case, even if people are confronted with more realities, there's basic human nature that's extremely stubborn, because there have been many studies dating back, I believe, to the 1950s, about cognitive dissonance and how a huge number of people will refuse to change their minds about their beliefs even when confronted with overwhelming evidence that they're wrong. For the sake of I think you know what group of people that brings to mind for me, but yeah, it makes me wonder, like, how many people in this show, how much of the population will just continue living their lives without taking this leak seriously? How many people will continue believing in the system even in the face of overwhelming evidence that their lives and deaths have been all planned out for them? How many people will commit suicide because they feel like there is no hope anymore? And I don't know if all that will ever be addressed, but it's something that'd be really interesting to see. I mean, this leak is kind of irreversible. Enough of the population is going to cause enough of a ruckus that it'll be impossible to just forget and move on. And what kind of response will there be? What level of gun control is there in this world? How many people are going to pick up their guns and start charging any place that has to do with Sirach? And how will Sirach try to make the best of the situation and put people back on the loops he had his machine lay out for them? I have no idea. There's so much that could happen, so many directions that it could go. But yeah, speaking of Sirach, I knew he wasn't to be trusted from the very beginning. Even before we met him, I was like, Rehoboam cannot be trusted. And what makes Rehoboam even more twisted is that it predetermines so much and won't allow people to change their fate. Because even in our society, where there are so many barriers to many people, there are people in real life who work themselves to the bone and they get lucky and they make it out of what their most likely path is based on how little society offers them. But with Rehoboam, Sirach is in control of everything. Like with that coup in Brazil, the group doesn't even know they will cause trouble, but he does. And he can make it go away if he wants to. So with larger level events, it makes sense that he tries to get personally involved. But I have to imagine that with someone with so much power has reshaped society so that deviation from a determined path is extremely difficult. Heck, Caleb, he said his resume was really solid, but they just didn't have any openings. It was a freaking robocall that could have easily been programmed to keep him down because Rehoboam thought he wasn't worth as much. So it was very likely that nobody went over his resume. It was just all completely automated. So there's so many implications of this episode, and it's really fascinating to just think about and talk about. I mean, a lot of other stuff happened this episode. Liam was straight up murdered. Caleb had flashbacks to his best friend dying while he tried to save Liam's life. And he also had some doubts about the path that they're on. He never even questions... I mean, he's going to question Dolores at some point, but he chose to continue to follow her before he got any real answers, I believe. Bernard has to be unsure about what to do at this point. Knowing how hosts were on their loops and the way he empathizes with humans, he must feel that getting humans off their loops is a worthy cause as well, right? But I'm sure he's not on board for the next part where Dolores wants to destroy humanity. And I mean, any other host out there might feel the same way, that people shouldn't be forced on their loops. So Maeve might feel that way, though. I mean, she's being controlled by Sirach, so I don't think she has a great opinion of him either. So I don't know. There's so many ways this story could go. Sirach finding out that Connells was the mole was a pretty great moment as well. After this episode, I get the idea that Connells was probably put in place by Sirach or his brother to watch over the Dempseys, which I guess I kind of already assumed when Connells stopped Liam from leaking Sirach's name to Dolores back in episode 1. But yeah, that's actually pretty important, right? Dolores loses one of her copies. Like, she only has a limited number of them to work with, so she only has 4 left. I don't know. So one's in Musashi, one is in... well, actually, no. She has 3 left, because one of them was Bernard, right? So she has 3 copies of herself. So we have Musashi, we have Hale, and then we have one that we haven't found out yet. Anyway, so I don't know if that... I guess she planned for Connells to get caught at some point, so I don't know what her next plan is and how she'll work out with just a few more cores left. But yeah, this episode felt spectacular for me. There's so many implications for the future. I can't wait to see what happens next and what Dolores has planned. Easily, like I said, could have been a season finale. I would not have been disappointed. But I'm going to give this a 9.5, and we'll see where we go from here. But yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like. Really helps out the channel. If you want to watch the full reactions or you want to catch episodes a week early, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, friends.